cheapen me by basically showing the people my video or show, and I wasn't sure if it's supposed to just advertise the thing. And you know, they do try to distract and to distort and to lie about certain things, but by linking to it, they only strengthen the message. So the fact that they are willing to do so, I think, very often implies some sort of pathology, maybe, because they cannot help speaking about the person, or instead of the arguments, instead of presenting the opposite point of view, they have to take the person and make it personal.
I should hasten to add, we have these discussions quite often, and I would love to know the background behind some of these attacks and what the purpose or intention was, because we can't honestly say, as we have no proof, who is responsible. It could well be some person is paid to post in a news group and insult people as a rule, or it could well be, more worryingly, an individual who maybe enjoys doing that type of thing. So it's very important.
Yeah, there is this issue of tribalism, as you mentioned. People like to justify their own choices and the choices of the group they associate themselves with. Yesterday I had Brandon in the IRC channel. He was calling himself a Pepsi person or a Pepsi guy or something. And I just thought, this concerns me, because I had these discussions with a friend of mine, Toby. He talks about how the companies know the methods of making people associate themselves with the brand of the company. A very good example of the things like Coca-Cola, or people who drink Coke because they think it makes them be seen as people who are going out with attractive people. And some people who are associating themselves with Apple, and they say, I'm an Apple person, or I'm a Mac guy. I'm a Mac guy. I'm a man. I'm a Mac. And they think it makes them better. If they go into the boardroom, they put down the laptop, and he's got this shiny Apple, behind the shiny Apple. And they think, I'm better than everybody else here because my laptop is costing twice as much. And there is this, this sense of belonging to a certain culture or a certain tribe in sorts. And some people will be willing to defend that. Now, with Microsoft, I'm always a bit curious, and I find it very dubious, because I don't really see why many people would associate themselves with this company. And I know about MVPs, but I think they do it out of professional reasons. Like, some of them actually make profit out of being associated with working within a business as a gold partner, so-called, gold partner of Microsoft. And they get some awards for supporting the company and basically ensuring that the money flows to both of them at the same time. They have this mutual reciprocal relationship, and they have to fight against the Mac and Linux and all kinds of things, like even Google. So of course, in these cases, I have to really find out a reason for the messengers, and usually the trolls, the rude ones, that they will be anonymous. But in other cases, I very often find that those people who do that, they do have some reason to support Microsoft, and the reason isn't a genuine love for the company. They just love for their wallet. It just happens to be the case that their employer or their business is tied up to Microsoft in some way. One small thing I want to just add very quickly is when these trolls, when these people who are disrupting forums, they get caught, you shouldn't really say the company shouldn't be doing that, because their mistake is not that they do that. Their mistake is that they got caught. Okay, so I don't think they regret doing that. I think all they say is, well, we should be more careful next time, and we should maybe choose a company that knows how to hide a bit more effectively, or make sure they actually stop talking or disappear somewhere. I know some lobbyists of Microsoft who kind of, I think, disappear once you expose them too much. It's becoming a legal risk to them. It's becoming a legal liability if they get exposed as lobbyists, so they kind of walk away or change name or something like that.
Well, on that note, what I'll say is that if there are any Windows or Microsoft users out there who have a genuine held belief that the products that they use are as fantastic as the Linux free and open source packages that myself and Roy use, I would invite you to come on the show. We'd be very happy to have you on, and we can have a chat and have a bit of a debate, and that offer goes out to anybody. So if anybody
We've never been offensive to anyone on the show, and I don't think I've never been too confrontational with it. I think once in a while the experience we both have in places like, as you mentioned, Compos and Compos Linux Advocacy, or the IRC channel, is that those people tend to come with the intention of being confrontational to begin with. So if they come to a Linux channel, to tell us about how great Windows is, you kind of have to ask why did they come to a Linux forum, and usually the reason is they want to troll. They want to kind of, basically cause some trouble in the hornet's nest, and if they do so, that they probably won't be getting a very nice debate. I don't think they're interested in a nice debate. They're interested in confrontation. They're interested in some storm, some action. Yes, but if anybody wants to just explain to us, and I think we did speak about this before, both Tim and myself, if we had a person who's even a Microsoft MVP who wants to just try and kind of have a debate with us about these issues, we would be happy to do that. We intend to have more guests in the future shows, but right now we do the transition towards all kinds of things like SIP and video, so we recently haven't had much time to do guest shows.
Well, there you go. That's the offer. I don't know, Roy, if you've got another topic to cover. Have you got
There's plenty of news going on. There is plenty to do with one thing I wrote about today, and I don't really think it's news. It is news in the sense that it's been mentioned again in the news. Because you have classification of news, and basically news that's kind of like, let's look at some old stuff and talk about this again and open the same jar of worms again, and kind of. So the two things that came to the so-called news again, because they ran out of ideas, was that Linux has got 1% market share. I think we had a show about this type of thing. And the second thing was the Windows versus Linux security. So I think the main question is, lots of people know Windows has got lots of holes in it and botnets and whatever. But then there is the question is, what is the effect of market share, and is it because Microsoft is negligent, or is it because Microsoft's got lots of market share on the desktop that they have all this trouble? So these two topics. I mean, one thing, I'll just give a very quick summary of what's in the news. So the first thing is the NSA was recommending what I call Vista 7, Windows 7. It's Vista 7 because it's just basically Vista with even less security. It is being claimed now, and even the Microsoft boosters kind of agree with that Vista 7 is less secure than Vista. So they actually went a step back, and they made it less secure. Great. That's exactly what you want. And the NSA is recommending Vista 7, and we also know it was working on the operating system, and then there is this debate about backdoors, and whether they put it in the encryption standard, and whether they actually put it in the operating system, and so on and so forth, and they don't seem to be so eager for American citizens to use Linux, and which from my point of view, if it's national security where the S stands for, well, if it's the NSA where the S stands for security, and I think it's like National Security Agency or something, the security is basically national security. It's not security for you, it's not computer security, it's security in the sense that they can intrude your inbox and stuff and check that you're not a terrorist. That's what they mean by security. If they don't want you to use Linux, it probably means that Linux is going to be impenetrable for purposes of so-called national security. Which actually leads me to thinking about some news I read about Osama bin Laden. He was able to send emails via all kinds of redundant boxes around and routing them around, which basically meant that the US military couldn't scan these emails and see them and actually find out where he was. And of course, we were all having our emails read by the government because of so-called terrorists, but the terrorists just did fine. They don't have to worry about that. Just quite a wasteful thing.
I mean, I think we've had the debate at some point with Windows v Linux security, and all I'll say is this: for the mainstream user, any debate on the subject is really something not of interest to them. I think all the mainstream user cares about is when they become a victim themselves. Now, whether them becoming a victim of some malicious software or whatever is because of the fact that Windows is the most popular platform is irrelevant to them. They are a victim of that particular malicious piece of software, and they could really care less whether they are 1 in 10,000 people that suffer the same problem or 1 in a billion. They are the victim, and that's the most important to them. And I think all these excuses and these reasons that Microsoft bring up really are by the by. It's at the end of the day, is Windows as secure as Linux? No, I don't believe it is. It's from my own experience and from the experience of the people I speak with.
It still reminds me very much of all kinds of creationist techniques of trying to use people's lack of technical skills to give them very simple arguments, like, well, if Linux was popular, it would have the same issues, And they say things like that, and it makes sense based on intuition, but